I think this time last week, Florida was the prospective favorite to win the series, and it's flipped. Now all of a sudden, the Oilers, I think, are a slight favorite. But
I
it's
think
real
the Oilers
close.
are favorite, or not? Are you not?
It's very close. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at the series odds right there, courtesy of FanDuel. They're minus 122. You're getting a bit of plus money for Florida. I don't know. I'm picking up on a lot of positive vibes for the Oilers.
I just think, like, people are bringing up the comparisons with Crosby, how he did it, and then did it again when he went back, and Gretzky when he walked by the Islanders dressing room, and then they got them again and he did it. I told you guys this before. Like, Hyman out, I don't think that those two guys that are leading the charge, they care what's going on. Corey Perry will step up. Evander Kane will step up. I just think they're not going to be denied. Like, they're trucking and rolling, and everyone. It's going to be a fascinating matchup because I think nobody can argue that both of these teams are kind of playing at the top of their game. And by the way, what a comment from Matthew Tkachuk to say to Connor McDavid, "We'll see you again next year."
Mm-hmm.
Like, what a comment!
And the handshake line.
Yeah, and the handshake line. It was picked up on a mic. How about that comment? See you again next year.
It was in the Prime
respect
special.
in the handshake line.
Yeah,
that is the only time that there's such thing as respect in the handshake line. Not when you get dummied in the first round.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll see you again in this, like, that is awesome.
It was awesome. That was in that Prime special. He said that, and then also the Zach Hyman speech was like, guys, I know we'll be back here next year. I feel it. I promise you, we'll be back here. That was when McDavid was crying and they were all sitting in the room. Hyman went into the middle of the room and made a little speech. We played it on the panel the other night, and those were from that Prime special. Those were some of the sound bites you got. And you're right. Like, Tkachuk's like, great job. We'll see you back here next year. Now, again, if they don't make it back, nobody pulls that clip and goes, hey, Chucky, you came short on it. But what a comment for sure, because I would argue that halfway through this season, nobody saw either one of these teams in that position based on how they were playing and the inconsistencies and injuries and all that other stuff. But You're right, I think both these teams are playing their best hockey right now. Everyone's leaning Edmonton, and rightfully so, destiny, all that type of stuff, but I don't sleep on this Florida team, man. They're good.
No, they have the one thing, and we know how important our favorite position to talk about.
Yeah.
And Stu Skinner, it's like it has to be the heater Stu Skinner that he's been on the positive, because if he has even one or two kind of the other Stu Skinner,
wobbly, yeah.
If he has a couple of, I don't know what the number is, Hayes, but if he has two of them, they're probably toast. Like, two of them will probably cost him.
Yeah, and I think, there's a Wizard of Oz, like, we're not in Kansas anymore type of connection. We're not playing Dallas anymore. Like, Skinner against Dallas the last 2 years has been out of this world. Out of this world. And everyone else he's played against, it hasn't been at the same level. So, yeah, we will ask Chris Knobloch this. Like, is it just Skinner's net? What obviously he's going to start game one. I think that goes without saying, and you got to stick with him, and he's been great.
Yeah.
He's been outstanding. But, yeah, I think there's validity to that. Now, I will say in the Cup final last year, Bob got flushed out at different times, but he settled in for Game 7. And in Game 7, Skinner was fine. Like, he was good. They lost 2-1. Yeah, they lost 2-1. It wasn't a goalie's issue either way once you got to that point. But, yeah, I think you look at it, the reason this sets up to be such a great Cup final is there is no Cinderella here. This is not a scenario where it's like David versus Goliath. These are
a team that's scraped in.
These are two Goliath teams that are polar opposites. Like, a big conversation going on in the league right now is the taxes and no state tax conversation and all of that. And I get it, and we'll have it as we move forward. But Edmonton, they don't have great weather. Yes, they don't have the same taxes as Ontario or New York or California, but they don't have the same setup that Florida does, or Nevada does. And, Edmonton just drafted well and signed the right guys, and they went through the process, and they picked a guy clearly behind the bench that just knows how to do it, because Knobloch has been phenomenal. This guy's in his second Cup final. He hasn't even been in the league for like 18 months. It's incredible. And you got two worlds colliding, yet they're both playing incredibly well. Like, Edmonton steamrolled Vegas and then Dallas. Like it took them 10 games combined to beat both of those teams. Those are monster teams, man. Like those are legit hockey teams. And Florida
dummied them, man.
Yeah, they dummied them, and Florida destroyed Carolina. It's really only the Leafs and the Kings, I guess, put up a fight against either team. Early in each respective series.
Right.
But other than that, Edmonton and Florida have just looked like it's like a fight scene. Like the gangs in New York where at the end Bill the Butcher and DiCaprio, like they're pushing through bodies to get to each other. That's what this is. It's like Florida and Edmonton were like, move, get out of the way. We want them. They want us, and we're going to meet in the middle. And it sets up for an incredible Cup final.
And maybe home ice like last year. I mean, maybe people are swaying towards Edmonton because could it be any of a worse start for them last year going down 3 Cobb? I think people are maybe looking at it saying there's just no way in hell they're going to do that again. Right. They have home ice advantage, and they dragged it to a Game 7, and maybe that last game. I got to be honest, this might be crazy talk, but I don't think it's going to be a long series. I say that a lot because I just get into a favor for a team. And I think it's going to. I think Edmonton's going to spank Florida. I really do.
Really? Wow. That would be shocking to me. Either of these teams getting spanked.
Yeah. Well, like don't you think? Look at what we just talked about. All the teams were at the end of the line. Dallas Stars, they took down some good teams, and then they met Edmonton. Mm-hmm. They were at the end of the line. Carolina, everyone was like, God, Carolina can do this. They met Florida. They're at the end of the line. For someone, it's going to be the end of the line. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it's going to be blow for blow where it's like win, it's like down to a Game 7. I think the trend that's happened in the playoffs is going to continue into the finals where one team's got it, the other doesn't, and it's like you're at the end of the line.
And the most likely culprit of that would be Florida because 3 years in a row in a Cup final, run out of gas. Like that makes sense. History
I don't even know if you can say that. Like that would have happened by now. I hear you. Out of gas.
I agree with you. You had Tampa in 22. I think they met Vegas, and it was like I think Vegas won in 5. And now they ran into injuries, and Florida seems relatively healthy. I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying.
I'm the other way, and the only reason being is I think there's a few moves that they've made that have kind of reinvigorated them. Mm-hmm. Like keep in mind, Ekblad, like he got 20 games off. That was his own doing. All of that. Seth Jones, this guy looks like a rock star. 63. You could argue that Florida doesn't make it through Toronto if 63 doesn't
Brad Marchand, I agree.
Do what he does.
He's
right?
Great. Yep.
So they're both teams are different, and you can hear Paul Maurice, Chris Knobloch both talking about the difference between last year and this year. Both teams are differently. Yes, there's the core is still there, but the support group. Last year Evander Kane was banged up. You look at it. There were different things. That the teams were built a little bit differently. I think this is going to be a great series. I disagree. I think it's going to go the full distance, and it could be a heavyweight fight. But you're right. Sometimes the build up, and then it's like somebody wins in 5. Like you're just like they don't have it.
You thought that last year though, right? When Florida was up 3-0, it's like this is done. It's over.
They're done.
And then next thing you know, it's Game 7. So
right.
I think both teams have that willpower. Like I obviously Edmonton can't play with fire like that again.
No,
you go down 0-3 again, then I think that's enough. But they're both playing as well as anyone I can recall in recent memory in terms of peaking going into the Stanley Cup final.